Hello, everybody. This is Taking Online Accounting Courses, The Good, the Bad, and the Not So Pleasant by Bennett Tchaikovsky. My disclaimer and copyright notice: the information and opinions in this presentation are those of the author only and not the author's employers or affiliated organizations, including, but not limited to, Irvine Valley College, the South Orange County Community College District, or California State University at Fullerton. The presentation is for educational purposes only and does not constitute any legal or accounting advice whatsoever. This presentation is copyright 2008 to 2022 by Bennett Tchaikovsky. All rights are reserved. Any distribution is strictly prohibited. So I want to thank one of my subscribers for asking this question. And this is something that I really believe has been felt across the board, is that here's a student who took their accounting courses online. They're working as an accountant. And what they're learning so far is great. However, that student is not making the connection as to how everything works and what account is affected by the transactions taking place, because the software I use at work is automated and the classes at school just have us looking at slides, reading, and taking multiple choice quizzes. Where can I go? What book can I buy? Or who can I talk to get my hands on a workbook that teaches me from the ground up? I do not feel like I'm learning the skill of accounting like you had stated in the main ideas and behind why it happens. So if you want the workbooks, okay, right over here, I'm going to go to the end slide. This is my Gmail address. If you're a subscriber to my channel, I am more than happy to provide this to you. I would just not want you to take it and repost it on the internet. I'm going to go through these in my presentation a little bit later, but you can email me and I will send this to you. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is that if you're feeling this way, you're not alone. In my intermediate accounting class and also in my managerial accounting class, I can tell almost instantly who got a good financial accounting education and who did not. On my very first test in intermediate accounting, what do I ask my students? I give them an unadjusted trial balance. I have them prepare adjusting entries. I have them prepare a multi-step income statement of retained earnings, preparing a balance sheet. On the second exam, it's a statement of cash flows. This is for intermediate accounting. So when you look at this, and first off, in every single time I teach intermediate accounting, you see the difference in percentages. These are students who took their accounting courses at Irvine Valley, and they're part of what we call a GAP 4+1 program. It's a special program IVC has with Cal State Fullerton. The 50% was the average of those other students. So of the ones who did not. And whenever a student does not pass my course, I am talking to them almost immediately because I am trying to self-diagnose. Was it me and I wasn't being clear as to what needed to be done? Or was it the student who either wasn't prepared for the exam, and that happens a lot because of work, life, things happen, or was it that their financial accounting education was so poor that when they saw this, they didn't know what to do? So you're not alone, but we're going to go through and talk about some things how we can make it better. Why does it matter that you have a solid foundation of financial accounting heading into your career? Well, now it's even more important because what you're seeing, what I've observed happening from talking with my students, is I had a former student who was asked by a Big Four accounting firm, how do you record a retail sales transaction? My student didn't know. And what did that student do? And by the way, if you don't know an answer to a question and you're interviewing with an accounting firm, never answer it. Just say, I don't know. I'll have to get back to you. And the reason is because I don't want to give an incorrect answer to a client. If you made up something, you're not going to get the job. So you will also see over here that more and more firms are going to be giving assessment tests. I'm seeing that's kind of true. I mean, I've already seen it in a few places. A little bit more rare, but I think it's going to start happening more now, especially with what's been happening with the online education. But what can you do? And it's like, this is the thing, going back to the student, well, the student wasn't able to answer the question, but what can you do? Well, this is what you can do is you can basically I'll give you basically, if you send me a message, I will send you over my workbooks for financial accounting. You're more than free to go through and to use those, but accounting is a skill that takes practice and repetition. You learn the skill, and this is why this quote here is spot on, right? If you look at this, I'm not making the connection to how everything works. The class just has it looking at slides, reading, and taking multiple choice quizzes, right? That is not a good way to learn financial accounting. What you want to do is you want to work through problems. The way you do it is you're going to take out blank sheets of paper. You're not going to use Excel. I know you can use Excel for the CPA exam, but when you're first learning accounting, you want to take out blank sheets of paper and you want to go through and work through the questions. Now, over here is a sample of one of my homework packets. And if you take a look at this question, right, look at this problem. We formed a business, Infinity Rocks. Here are a full list of transactions. And when you kind of go through and see this over here, what do we have to do? Well, you got to put them into the T accounts. You got to prepare an unadjusted trial balance. You have to prepare an income statement, prepare a statement of retained earnings, right? This is where you're going to go after that. But before we get to that, the way I have you learn financial accounting is we're just going to look at balance sheet accounts. Over here, we're just going to look at balance sheet accounts. And why you might be asking, well, Bennett, why are you doing that? It's because I need to get you used to recording the financial accounts, basically assets, liabilities, and owner's equity. So accounting is something you learn on layers, and you want to start with the base layer first, and you want to practice, right? You can print out my homework packet, you can use whatever you need to do, but you need to go through and practice. And the other thing that I also do as well is that I will be giving you these workbooks. What you'll find is right over here, this will take you to a Google Sheet. And within this Google Sheet, you'll basically find over here video walkthroughs of various different questions. And even for myself, I have the 5-second ad, right? So right over here, you'll basically see samples of all these different questions, right? So again, going back to what I would do first and how do you learn accounting? The first thing I would do, you're going to take out blank pieces of paper and copy the solution. If you're taking one of my classes, get the homework copied and posted up. I have no problem with students copying the solutions in their own handwriting. No auto pen, in your own handwriting. So you're going to copy that solution first, but then what you're going to do is you're going to watch the video. You're going to repeat that question over and over again until you can feel confident. It's not about just, oh, I got this. No, you don't. You have to go through and write out the full solutions. You can abbreviate, but you have to go through and write out the solutions. That's what you have to go through and do. Now, why do I use problem-based? And it's exactly what the reader pointed out, which was, looking at slides, reading and taking multiple choice quizzes. That's not the way you learn accounting. You learn accounting by doing problems. This is my opinion. Life is not multiple choice. Even the CPA exam, they say, Bennett, well, the CPA exam has multiple choice. Yeah, they do, but those questions are really messed up. And when you go through and study those questions, you're going to study that when you're studying for the exam, but it's more important that you learn about what goes on first. And also, too, problem-based questions. If you think about it, these are a great equalizer, right? So if I'm writing my own questions, you can't cheg it. Everybody's put on the same field, right? I'm also able to give partial credit, right? And it's also too the student retention of information. Now I lose a lot of students. Why do I lose a lot of students? Because what happens is they will say, oh, Tchaikovsky, you said that this class is going to take 10 hours a week, but I didn't believe you. Because most students, most professors will say that, but they don't really mean it, but you actually meant it. It's like, yeah, why would I lie to you? Right? If I'm going to lie to you about this, I'm not going to lie to you about this. So, but why is also the most important part of using a problem-based method, at least for myself, is I'm not going to write you a letter of rec, unless you've really suffered through my classes. I mean, that's really the key thing, is the suffering. Because, and it's really, I joke around about this, but accounting, like, look, intermediate accounting took longer for me to learn than any of the classes I took in law school, right? I'm an attorney and a CPA. My upper division accounting classes were brutal because you're learning a skill, and that skill it takes so much time to put into it. So again, when it comes over here, you want to put the time into these classes, especially if you're going to become an accountant, right? And this is language I use in my letter of recommendations, right? This just kind of shows, like, I can't make a recommendation for a student unless I've gone through and have seen them take the test. And even during online, I was using Proctorio. Canvas would only show the question, and the students are required to physically write out the solutions, right? That's how you have to go through and do it, at least in my opinion, in terms of going through and teaching accounting, because the students don't know. And just remember, if you took a real easy financial and managerial accounting class, that already happened. You're not going to go through and redo it. But if you're going to be practicing as an accountant, you're going to have to pay the fiddler. And it's either you're going to take that CPA exam, and that thing's going to be so hard and it's going to absolutely destroy you. And have I seen students get destroyed by the CPA exam? Absolutely, yes. So it's better to go now. And, going back to this great user or to this great subscriber, again, this is a subscriber that's really saying, hey, the most important thing you can do is admit what you don't know. If you don't know what's going on, then this is what you have to go through and do. You have to admit what you don't know. Then what you can do is then you can kind of say, okay, I'm going to learn the material. And again, you're free to use what I have. Just again, send me that email. I will send it out to you, a bunch of different PDFs, whatever I can do to help you get the very best accounting education, right? That's what I'm here for. But you have to put in the work. And that work is getting out those blank sheets of paper, of going through and copying the solutions, going through and practicing. Practicing is what's key, because that's going to commit it to your muscle memory or to your brain memory about how to go through and, succeed. And just so you know, like on exams, I generally know like what happens in accounting, right? So the most, if you were asking yourself, like, this is really more about foundational accounting, but I'm putting this in here just so for those students who are taking my classes or who are looking to improve upon their accounting, you never want to wait until the last minute to study for an accounting exam. There's one student I know who did it and got an A in my class, and she went to Haas and she's killing it now. And she's smarter than me. I mean, she's that brilliant. But never ever wait until the last minute to study. Okay. Another thing too is that accounting can kind of sneak up on people, because if you watch my videos, my job is to make the material look very easy. And they say, oh, dude, I've got this. And then they don't go through and they don't write out the solutions, right? The other thing is they're working full time and they just didn't budget the right amount of time. And it's just, how many times do they practice the questions? If they only did it once or twice, that's generally not going to be enough. So again, hopefully you found this video to be helpful. Again, I really want to thank the student for putting this out here. And I even tell my students in intermediate accounting, I said, if I start reading slides in class, just shoot me. And that's not, please don't shoot me, but just please put me out of my misery and tell me that I shouldn't be teaching accounting anymore. because when it comes to going through and just reading slides, unless you've written those slides yourself or, whatever it might be, it's just, you don't want to take publisher slides and read them. What you want to be doing in class is you want to be going through and you want to be working through various different problems, right? So to give you a sample in terms of how I go through and teach. So for my 301A class that I've gone through and are going through and teaching, what you'll see is that I've got like these little dates next to these slides, but this is how I go through and teach intermediate is I will basically take a particular slide from a particular day, and then I will go through and then show that solution. But that's the best way to learn accounting is by practicing problems, right? If your instructors are using multiple choice questions, more than likely those came from a test bank because writing good multiple choice questions is very difficult to do. So they probably came from a test bank, and for your own, I would be asking the question of my faculty or my professor is like, well, are you going to be using test bank questions? And if they say, well, why are you asking me that question? It's like, well, I just need to know if I should go out and buy a Chegg subscription. Because again, Chegg has everything, but it's not going to give you a good accounting education, right? And that's why we're not here on this channel. What we want to be going through and doing is we want to be learning accounting. You're learning a skill. You don't want to fake it. You want to learn it. You want to be really good at it. So when you get into your professional careers, you're going to be good to go. And again, I don't have a problem with students getting the answers to questions. And I think that that's really important and a huge part of the learning process to kind of understanding, well, what did I do wrong or how do I make this better? But again, it's one of those things where just if you're new to the channel or if you're watching this video and you took an online accounting class and didn't learn anything, the most important thing you can do is admit what you don't know. Once you've done that, then you're going to be at the next level, which is going back and going through and taking the courses to go through and study. If you would like the books that I've made, not really books, but basically my lecture notes and my homework, what I call my homework packets, if you send me an email, if you subscribe to the channel and you send me an email to 1812cpa@gmail.com, you are more than welcome to use them to learn accounting, not to post up on the internet or anywhere else. But in any event, I want to thank you for being here with me. And I want to thank my subscriber who asked such a great question. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day.